Ooh, it says going. And the going gets tough, and we're live. Hey, how's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Apple sheep, Apple haters everywhere. It's our Tuesday's Tailosive Tech live stream day. And yeah, I wanted to talk about, I don't know what the first super chat's going to be, but I wanted to talk about the Venugeskin concept of what the Pixel 3 could hypothetically look like, which is the thumbnail for this live stream. Hey everyone, Tech Gold, Liam, J Gold, all the golds. Max, iPro, Ruff, KC. Hello. How's everyone doing? Top of the morning to you. Yeah, I wanted to talk about that Pixel 3 leak because it looks like Google might actually be learning from their mistakes, learning from their past missteps in my mind, and a lot of the rumors in leak think the Pixel 3 might be a good buy. Like if they did something along the lines of what that concept looks like in this thumbnail with the same size bezel all the way around. Their way of getting rid of the notch is to have a rather thick bezel. It's a pretty big bezel all the way around. It definitely looks a bit thicker than the 10, but there's no notch. So a lot of people may appreciate that. And I think a lot of people may appreciate Google not going the same route everyone else is going. So if that happens, they incorporate a dual camera. Or a triple camera for that, rather. I don't care. Just as long as there's some other thing the camera can do other than just say, our bokeh's good. Because for me, that's not convincing enough of an argument. You can't just say, like, we make good bokeh, and that's why you should buy our camera. For me, it's got to be more than that. It's got to be about lens options, whether it's ultra-wide or telephoto, I don't care. I mean, I would prefer telephoto, and Google has a track record of doing what Apple does, so I think it would make sense to do telephoto, but and the LG G7, it doesn't sell super well, so I imagine they would likely go the telephoto route. But even if it had an ultra wide, I'd just be thankful it had something extra to go with the lens. Obviously, Snapdragon 845, so hopefully we'll be able to support the 4K at 60. Wireless charging, I feel like if they don't adopt it, it's going to feel very, very behind, especially if they expect to make a premiumly charged Pixel 3 this year. So other than that, the bezel-less design, the dual camera, the wireless charging, I think if they can nail those things, then they'll have a pretty good phone on their hands. And if they get the price point about right, which in my mind, if that Pixel 3, if that does happen, it would probably be priced around the $899, $900 realm, alongside like a Note 8 or something, just so they could say it's cheaper than an iPhone 10, but it's definitely not on par price point with the iPhone 8 or 8 Plus or something like that. So if that does happen, I'll be legitimately curious. Will it happen? We don't know. We won't know for sure until October, until after the iPhone 10 and 10 Plus comes out. So it's definitely not a for sure we know it's going to happen thing. But I'm just saying that there's some leaks, there's some concepts going around, there's some rumors going around, and if those things happen to be the truth, then I'll be fairly interested that the Pixel line actually generated something good and not garbage. It's not an iPhone killer. Let's get that straight. It runs Android, okay? It's just I'm looking at it as what Android phones are better than others. I'm not saying any Android phone is better than an iPhone because that's got iOS, that's got the A11, A10 chip, just the Apple A series of chips. It's got the 4K at 60 past 5 minutes. Yes, Apple was late to the wireless charging game, no doubt, but Google's even later. OnePlus is even later. That doesn't excuse the fact that they're delaying things into 2018, where Apple at least got it in 2017. But I agree, Apple should have got it earlier. It's a want-to-be iPhone. Yes, it's going to be like, all right, so we want the same size bezel all the way around, no chin because everything's a chin. All the sides are chins too. So it looks kind of wonky, but I think it would work. We want air power. Yes, we do. Of course. No one doesn't want air power to come out. Yes, it's oh, there's our first donation. Thank you, iHunter Official, for the super chat. Appreciate it very, very much. All right, nothing is an iPhone killer. Well, maybe a fall from 5 feet. I love my 10, and it has a nice case on it. I bet it could survive a fall from 5 feet. You can just watch a little Everything Apple Pro and see how it goes. Thoughts on air power? We want it. It's going to cost $200. We don't know when it's coming out. Case closed. There's nothing more to talk about. There's no more information on it. There's no more leaks about it. Every single month, There's people saying that it will come out at the end of that month, and then it doesn't. And then this month they say, actually, it's coming out at the end of this month, and then it doesn't. And then they say, actually, it's coming out at the end of this month. So just kill your expectations, okay? A wireless charger that can charge your watch, AirPods, and iPhone, that's cool, but is it going to change your day-to-day? Not really. It's going to change that nightstand moment at the end of the day where you put all your devices down. That's all it's really going to change. So let's not put all of our eggs in one basket and just like if AirPower comes out, then, you know, God will come down from heaven. It's like, okay, AirPower, we want it, but it's not going to change everything, and it doesn't sound like it may be coming out anytime soon. So let's not get our hopes up. Let's lower expectations. That way, if it does come out, hopefully at WWDC, then we'll be able to be happy about it. So let's not just raise expectations too high. Hey, thank you very much. Marlon Law says, I want the bong sound back on Max. Oh, okay. Good for you. I didn't realize that was even gone. But anyway, Most Average Gamer says, hey, Drew, my name is Matt. I DM'd you on Instagram. Please read it after the stream. Thanks so much. All right. Thank you very much for the super chat, and I'll be sure to check that out. I apologize. I get tons and tons of DMs on Instagram all the time. So it's difficult to get to everyone, but okay, I'll try to remember that. Thank you. How's your day? It's been good. It's very hot here. I normally would not have the fan on. I apologize if that's messing with the audio, but it is so dang hot in here and hot in Chico that I don't want to just sit here and sweat in front of all you because that's going to look gross, and I already feel very uncomfortable. So I've got the fan at the lowest setting. This is as quiet as it gets, and it's pointed directly at me. So hopefully this can keep me cool. We don't run the air conditioning because that drives your PG&E bill way, way, way higher. So we're saving money by just resorting to fans, and I hope you guys can tolerate that. We can't hear it. That's good. That's what I want to hear. Sorry if it's annoying. Anyway, Marlon Law says, oh, and hello. Hello, Marlon. Theo, super chatted. No comment, but we appreciate it. It's super urgent, says the Most Average Gamer. Okay, I'll make sure to remember your name for the end of the stream. Thank you. Imagine if you still lived in the attic in this heat. I don't have to imagine it. I remember the attic back then, and it was, oh, God. I had the same fan, I think, back then. I don't think we bought a new fan since then. But, yeah, that fan was my savior. Had to hold it about 4 feet away from you while you were editing. And, oh, God, the heat in California. This is kind of the sucky part of the year where it gets really bad. Anyway, so we were talking about the Pixel 3 earlier because I was saying that a lot of the leaks and the rumors I'm seeing for it actually make me kind of interested in it because, as you guys know, I'm not a fan of the Pixel lineup. They've discontinued half the products they've released. The Pixel 2 didn't surprise me because they charged it like a premium phone even though it had budget features. So I was unimpressed overall with the Pixel 2. And having good bokeh in the camera doesn't justify all the lack of features, the slower CPU, the higher price point. That didn't justify it for me. And I was just like, nah, I can't recommend. Even if you want an Android phone, I can't recommend you get the Pixel 2. However, seeing with the idea that Google may be going with a thick bezel, but all the way around, that way there's no notch and there's no chin, and you just kind of have an awkwardly large bezel all the way around. I think a lot of people may be into that, and I'm at least proud of Google if they do this. Of course, this is all hypothetical. It might not happen at all. But if they do this, I applaud them for being original. I applaud them for taking a step in a direction that no one has tried before, because Apple, their compromise was the notch, which a lot of people have been okay with, and a lot of Android phone developers have been okay with. But Google would be kind of the first company to say, well, how about we just have side bezels that are kind of awkwardly big, but you don't have a notch and you don't have an overly large chin. By the concept, Venya Geskin tweeted, which I used in the thumbnail of this live stream, it would still retain its front-facing speakers because those side bezels are so big. Not that everyone would prefer that. Maybe some people would still prefer the iPhone 10 design. I'm probably sure most people are going to keep with the iPhone 10, excuse me. But I think that could be interesting if they added the dual camera, whether it's an ultra wide or a telephoto, just something extra opposed to just one lens. I think doesn't work too well in 2018 anymore, especially with so many other smartphone cameras outperforming the Pixel in so many areas. So a dual camera, wireless charging, and the bezel-less design. I think they nail those three things. I at around an $899 price point, they could probably earn my respect, or at least earn my attention. Be like, okay, that's a decent Android phone. I think that would be cool, and I think that might break the trend of me constantly hating every Pixel phone that comes out. Which, by the way, I'm not doing because I enjoy it. I mean, it's made by a company that I don't appreciate very much. But at the end of the day, if a phone is good, I'm going to give credit towards it, and if that happens, then I'll give credit towards it. Gain a lot of subscribers lately. Do you consider to verifying your YouTube account? So, even though many people have told me otherwise, I've checked with YouTube support and I've checked with people at YouTube, and they keep telling me the same thing. You can't get a verified check mark until you have 100,000 subscribers. I've had people comment and message me and say, "Gee, you can get a check mark without 100,000." They don't want to tell me how, but basically, anytime you ask someone from YouTube if you can get it, they'll say, "Nope, come back when you're at 100." So, but that'll be soon. That'll be in about a month. We'll hit 100K. Still don't really have any plans for that, but do you think YouTubers only like the Pixel 2 because Google pays them? No, it's not that simple. I think several YouTubers do get the Pixel 2 early. I know several YouTubers who, when the iPhone 7 removed the headphone jack, and even when the iPhone 8 and 10 came out, they still kept complaining that the headphone jack was gone. But for some reason with the Pixel 2, they're just like, wow, this runs stock Android. Wow, this is a great experience. Man, I like this phone. And there's not any hate for the lack of headphone jack, even though Apple did it already, and they hate on that. So yeah, I see plenty of channels that are biased. It's easy to hate Apple, and most of the internet hates Apple. So if you want people to agree with you, if you want the majority of the internet to agree with you, it makes more sense to bash Apple. And then when Google does something like Apple, just be like, it's okay because it's Android. And less people are going to buy that. Most of the people online are in favor of Android opposed to iOS. So it's just easier to make fun of it that way. Whereas if you want people to hate you, if you want people to go after you and disagree with you, and you want to rake up those dislikes, then supporting Apple's the best way to go, because some of the best videos I've ever made on this channel in terms of views and in terms of revenue are always the ones with the highest dislikes. So yeah, I like finding those topics that people can't agree on. I thought they hated the fact that the Pixel didn't have a headphone jack as well. Some people did, but it's definitely more noticeable with the iPhone 7, believe me. You can go back, watch these old, it's kind of interesting sometimes to go back and watch old tech videos YouTubers would upload, because they would say things like, man, iPhone 7 doesn't have a headphone jack. That sucks. I can't use any of my old headphones. And then the Pixel 2 doesn't have it, and they're like, it doesn't have it, but I guess that's normal now, so it's okay. And they just don't bash on it as much, even though Apple got all the blame for this, and now everyone considers it normal. Well, everyone's doing it, so it's okay, right? That old argument. So yeah, there's a noticeable bias there. I don't think most people would try to deny it. Let's see. Is iPhone 7 worth the extra money from the 6S on a budget? I wouldn't buy any iPhone right now. Wait till the new ones came out. Then the 7's going to be even cheaper. I think they're going to keep selling the iPhone 7 after the new iPhones come out this year, but they'll be even more affordable than they are now. So I would say wait on that. But your 6S is probably fine. This bias will ever disappear? No, that's kind of what makes YouTube interesting, is that everyone has their own personal preferences, and I just think the difference is whether or not we admit it. Everyone has a personal preference. Everyone knows they like a certain color more than another color. Just like with smartphone brands, we like certain operating systems more than others. So that's why I really don't think this persona that I'm putting on of just like, well, guess what? I like Apple products and I like them more than Android. So I'm just going to let you know in advance I have that. So know that when you hear all my opinions, I have that bias. So I don't think that's ever going to go away. I just think that the rest of YouTube may slowly start admitting it more and more often. More and more YouTubers might just start saying that they have a bias towards something, and that's okay. They can't ever look at something completely objectively. You can try, but it's really not going to be very interesting, because anyone can just look at tech specs, and that's really all you can do when you're looking at it objectively. Christopher says, do you think the 2018 iPhone 10 should have more RAM, like at least 4 or maybe even 6 for the larger version? A lot of the OnePlus 6 versus iPhone 10 speed tests show the OnePlus 6 is faster because of the extra RAM it packs. It's also because of the Snapdragon 845, which, yeah, I saw the speed tests as well, which was interesting to me to say the least, given that it was faster than the Samsung Exynos processor, which isn't out yet or available to the US, which is like, so Samsung's 845 is just slower than the OnePlus's 845. I don't know, but yeah, I think they may pack extra RAM. I don't think I don't think that's a big problem with Apple right now. Is they're worried about OnePlus 6 speed tests because that's not really affecting their sales very much. The vast majority of people are using 4 or 5 apps on their iPhone at a time. They're not using 18 and then going back and reloading them each time. I'm just saying, Apple doesn't watch everything Apple Pro's video and go, dang, our phone's slower. It finished round 2 in 54 seconds, and the OnePlus 6 finished it in 30 seconds. How are we going to fix this? I don't think that's a priority for them. I think they're listening to their consumers and they're listening to their customers, and they're going to focus on those things, not background. It doesn't affect people's phone decision. You're not going to, you may, because you're a techie person and watching a kind of techie channel, but I'm just saying the vast majority of customers out there aren't going to be like, well, Snapchat opens in 3 seconds on the OnePlus 6 and 5 seconds on the iPhone 10 Plus, which that's after I've opened 20 apps, exported a 4K video, and loaded an 8K image, and then reloaded them all a second time, and then it's slower the second time. That's not a big problem for Apple. So yeah, they may add extra RAM, but I don't think it'll be 6. I don't think it'll be more than the OnePlus's 6 because I don't think Apple sees OnePlus as a threat. They're not worried about that. It's not an iPhone killer. They're probably more focused on Samsung. Yeah, just Samsung and reaching markets like India before everyone else. Average Gamer says, you're the best. Thank you. Matthew K says, thoughts on a screen that turns white when not on? I would really like that, kind of like the top of the HomePod when you think about it. There were some phones in that episode of Black Mirror Nosedive that were like not black when they turned off. And I thought that was really interesting. It made the UI a lot more interesting. But currently, I'm not really sure if that technology exists. If you can get a high pixel per inch on something that's not dark when off, like a typical phone is, it turns black when the screen's not on. So that would be cool, but I don't know scientifically what technology allows that yet. I dislike how expensive the Apple products are. I like my headphone jacks. I like customization, and I am a gamer. Okay. First of all, Apple still sells phones with headphone jacks. Apple only sells one phone that's over $1,000. All the rest, between the iPhone 8, 8 Plus, 7, 7 Plus, 6S, 6S Plus, they're all under $1,000. You're ditching headphone jacks everywhere, so I really encourage you to just kind of get away from that. But I don't think Apple deserves the term of most expensive option because they're not anymore. There's a more expensive version of every product that you can see Apple in. Like a maxed out iMac Pro is like 13 grand. There are PCs that are 20 grand that you can buy from companies, not just from building it yourself. Like PC building companies will make $20,000 PCs. There are Android phones that cost $1,500, $2,000, especially with this Vivo Apex, which is rumored to get a consumer version in the June 6th. But they won't tell us what's inside it, as in tech specs. They don't tell us what type of CPU it is. They don't say how much it is or where it'll be available. So, yeah, I wanted to bring that up because a lot of people were like, Drew, you said the Vivo Apex is a concept phone, and it's because Vivo said it's a concept phone, which typically means not available for resale. But now they're actually going to be selling it, but it's going to be a different version. They're saying that it's going to be a retail version, so it's not exactly the same as the Vivo Apex. It might be a lot. If it isn't a lot, I don't know why they're not just telling us, but we'll see. Keith says your top 3 wish list for iOS 12. Um, let's see. I'm really kind of up for wild cards with iOS updates because I'm just kind of like, just better enhancements to Siri. Every year, I always say I want to be able to change recording formats in the camera app. I don't know if that's a top 3 thing. That's just something I've always wanted. Yeah, I think I almost, not that I would use the extra Siri features if Siri was as smart as Google, but I really just am sick of hearing people say Siri sucks. Siri's not as good as the Google Assistant. It's like, we know, we get it, we got it. All right. So yeah, I don't really know if I could come up with a top 3, but I was gonna say dark mode, but the smart invert is getting better and better and better. With the knowing what to reverse the colors of and what not to. Like, you guys should check your smart color invert in your phone now. It'll work on a lot of apps fairly well, and I've been using dark mode built into the iOS 11 already. So I can't really say I wish there was like an official version, because it kind of already is. If there was more sophistication, it would be barely different. But top 12, yeah, I guess I could just say I hope they improve Siri a lot more so people stop complaining about it, because not again, I probably wouldn't use it, but I just want something extra. But I want to be able to remove the names under the apps on the home screen. I know you can do it with a jailbreak, but jailbreaking is a whole nother complicated process. But yeah, I would really like to see the UI be a bit more neutral, be a bit more basic than it already is. So thank you, Keith, by the way. Caleb says, what would you recommend to a new Apple Bias channel besides uploading regularly? Well, that's a good one. A big problem I see with a lot of tech channels or YouTube channels in general is just talking about things that not a lot of people are focused on. I think that when you're making a tech channel, the reason I was able to get mine popular from nothing, because it used to be just nothing, was that it rose because I was looking at what everyone else was talking about. So try to find topics that are trending on Twitter. A lot of this is about reading the news. A lot of people are like, I don't have Twitter, I don't want to use Twitter. It's a great tool to see what people are tweeting about, what people are discussing, what rumors are going around. Mac Rumors is a great source to look at what types of futuristic stuff is being reported on. So a lot of it's timing, I would say. If you do an iPhone 10 unboxing right now, it's not going to do as good as it does when the iPhone 10 first came out. So yeah, I would just try to keep on topic, try to find things that you have something different to say about. For me, it was easy because there was all these things I was wishing a bunch of YouTube channels would say, but they weren't saying it. So it was driving me nuts. I was like, why is no one bringing up this point? No one can think of everything. All these tech channels keep saying the exact same thing. So don't let your videos just be limited to reading the tech specs, reading the features. You got to throw in something of your own opinion that no one else has noticed or no one else has found, which isn't easy, but that's just all I can recommend. Christopher says, did you watch MKBHD's camera comparison video? I did. I watched it with my girlfriend, which was fun because she kept going, it's B, it's B, it's B. I like B. B looks the best. And then it turned out to be her phone because she uses an iPhone 10. My point was that, like, yeah, B was standing out, but honestly, all these pictures are so similar. I really can't say you should make a smartphone purchasing decision based on these pictures, because even if the iPhone 10 wasn't B and that was the Pixel 2, I wouldn't have been like, oh, Pixel 2 is a better camera now, because in my opinion, he was comparing it. Guys, full disclosure, I love Marquez. Marquez collaborated with our channel. He was great, and we had a really engaging discussion. We still talk on Twitter sometimes. Really great guy. Really glad that we got to collaborate. But in my opinion, on that particular video, he was only comparing what the Pixel 2 could do with the competition. A bunch of the phones in that lineup had telephoto lenses, had video recording options that were better than the Pixel 2, but it was literally just smartphone camera test with no mention of video, with no mention of telephoto, with no mention of, you know, like all these other things. It was literally just, it should have been like the picture quality comparison. My next problem with that type of video is that all the pictures we're comparing are so basic. And to the average person, they're not going to care if one of these pictures has a little bit different red. You can edit any picture on your smartphone and raise the saturation. The fact that all these different pictures that had slight different, ooh, this one's blacks are a little blacker, this one's reds are a little redder, or this one gets a bit more HDR mode. It's like, you can edit all those things in the camera. You shouldn't like base all of your smartphone camera opinions on just like basic wide angle photos of a fire hydrant. That's, in my opinion, that's not how it should go by. To me, I'm like, okay, look, people are going to be filming a wedding. People are going to be filming a concert, a children's play or something. They're going to be far away from the stage, and they're not going to be able to get a close-up because they don't have a dual camera. So go with an iPhone 10. You can zoom in. You can record 4K at 60. It'll look really crisp. And on top of that, it'll be stabilized. It won't stop recording after 5 minutes. All these things aren't brought up in that type of video, and we're just left to compare itsy bitsy little changes, and you have to look at it under a microscope. And I'm like, every year this camera test style of video becomes less and less useful, because I don't care if all those pictures were shot on phones cheaper than an iPhone. I don't care if like all the pictures we compared in that video were shot on the OnePlus 5, OnePlus 4. Doesn't matter. The quality in them is so minusculely different that you shouldn't be like, I'm going to buy that phone because in the blind test I kept picking that letter. Not enough, I think, information on the cameras was brought up. The extra benefits of the iPhone 10, the extra benefits of the Huawei P20 Pro, the extra benefits. It was purely just one thing, and the only thing was that the Pixel 2 could compete with, because if we went telephoto or if we went 4K at 60, the Pixel 2 would lose. We just had to compare them all to what the Pixel 2 could do, which to me made it pointless. Anyway, let's see if I'm caught up. Most average gamer says, how do you manage social media? Just on my phone. Just got all the passwords with my iCloud keychain. I just use, everything is on my phone. Why do you think the iPhone 10 Plus didn't release, and what about the SE2 price? It's going to be released in September. They didn't have a plan for one last year. It was just they had a limited amount of Face ID sensors and OLED displays, so they didn't have enough to go around for a whole another brand of iPhone 10. So they found the one that was the best of both worlds, you know, a smaller form factor but a larger screen. So they figured most people would be okay with it. But now we've gotten to the point that we're okay. Wide angle lens is actually a better option than telephoto. I've been using the 7 Plus, and after a few months I stopped using it, but the wide angle camera in the V30 seems more useful. Your opinion is that there's far, far more options with a telephoto lens, and I'll list them to you, because I think I'm going to do a video on this pretty soon. Let's see. When would a telephoto lens be helpful? Concerts. It's crowded. You're sitting in a chair, but you want to take a picture of what's going on. Your camera, whatever your kid's doing, or a graduation ceremony. Telephoto is more helpful. Things flying away. If you're seeing a plane or a helicopter fly over, you want to take a picture of that. You can zoom into it. Ultra-wide won't help with that. Animals that can be easily frightened. This recently happened with our vlog on Tailosive Talks. There was this gorgeous amount of butterflies out on the beach that we were swimming at. And anytime you got close to them, they would scare away. But we want to get all that sweet, sweet detail out of the butterfly shots. So you don't want to scare away animals. Sometimes we would go to the ocean and there'd be squirrels running around. You can't get close to them, but you want a good picture of them. Telephoto lens, helpful there. If the moon is looking cool, the atmosphere is looking cool at nighttime, telephoto so you can look at things up in the sky. Sports games, if you're at a sporting event, baseball, football, you want to get closer to the action, telephoto helps with that. You can't because you're in the stands. You can't get closer. Less rounded distortion while filming. So yeah, ultra wides, while they do get a lot of things in the picture, and there's not an instance in which an ultra wide, there's not like, I'm not trying to say the ultra wide is useless. The ultra wide does have some usefulness, but it's not, I'm just saying it's not as useful as a telephoto. Because first of all, if you want to record video with an ultra wide, it's going to distort the edges. They're going to be all rounded off. Whereas a telephoto, most movies, most films are actually shot in more 35 millimeter, like closer up shots than they are ultra wide. Most movies don't shoot things in ultra wide. They usually go telephoto or mid. So things filmography wise would look more natural than, you know, GoPro shots, which is what an ultra wide would give you. Dangerous objects, like if you want to take pictures or videos of a fire or snakes or something you ran into that you can't get close to for your own safety, telephoto is more helpful. And on top of that, if you're in a situation where your wide angle standard on your smartphone can't get the whole room in it, let me see. I might have to scroll back a little bit. Give me a second here. But I did this example for people, and I'm probably going to use this example for when I do the video on this. Okay, so here we go. We recently rearranged our gaming room, right? So like, okay, here's one side of our gaming room. It's like, okay, I can't fit the whole gaming room in there. That kind of sucks. So what do? Panorama, something that's been in all smartphones and especially iPhones since the iPhone 5. So this is standard. This is the wide angle lens on my iPhone 8. But now I need to fit more of the room. I want you guys to see the rest of the room. So I use panorama. Now my phone can take ultra wide shots. There you go. No, it may not be as good, but if you think about it, the panorama is going to have more detail, more megapixels, because it's taking a bunch of pictures and sticking them together. So you're actually getting more data out of a panorama, even if the aspect ratio is a little weird. But digital zoom, you lose quality. Just like, here's the big thing. Compromising with an ultra wide means compromising on quality. Compromising with the telephoto means that your ultra wide photos actually look better because there's more pixels. There's a bunch of pictures stitched together. So that's why I would say telephoto is more important, because it applies to more situations, and people's argument for ultra wide just is bigger. Like, I want to fit everyone in the picture. It's like, take a panorama. It's not that hard. I would a picture of a building, back up. There's not a lot of situations where I don't think you can back up. I think there's far more situations where you're in a seat, when you're in the in the stands of a sports game, where the animal will get scared. You can't get closer. A digital zoom is just cropping. Digital zoom shouldn't even be a zoom. Having an actual telephoto lens is more useful. You don't lose as much quality. Anyway, that's why telephotos are more useful. I got to catch up here. Vipers in the chat says, "What's up, Drew? Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate the donation. Remember my Insta? I will. Thank you very much." Ultra wide panorama. That's okay. Thanks for the super chat though. Why not all three? Look, we've had this discussion before. Obviously having three would be best, but that's not what we're debating right now. The debate is not, should we have 2 or 3 lenses on the back of the phone? Because in that case, people will just say ultra wide, mid, telephoto. Well, the question is, if you have to pick one or the other, you have to pick telephoto or ultra wide. You can't have both. That's the hypothetical we're describing here. Okay. If we could do both, then we wouldn't be having this discussion. But that's not the discussion we're debating here. The idea that the red iPhone 10 Plus, and do you think Apple will make a product red iPhone 10 Plus? I think the product reds are intentionally exclusive and released halfway through the refresh cycle to raise sales halfway through the year. But I don't think they'll do a product red 10. And I even heard there might be manufacturing issues with stainless steel that prohibits them from making a red iPhone 10. It just doesn't work the way they wanted to. But I agree with MKBHD that they should just have a space gray stainless steel band around the 10, and then red glass on the back would still look great to me. I want more color options of everything, but I don't think we'll get one. I think they're going to stick with the 3. The new color being blush gold on the iPhone 10, because that was originally supposed to come out, but they didn't have enough sensors for it. Now they do. So yeah. Can you please do a house tour, office tour? Can you please upload earlier, because I live in the Eastern time zone? Here's the thing, you don't have to watch the video the second it comes out. Like, the fact that you wake up and it's been out for 4 hours doesn't mean the video is any different. You can watch it when you wake up. We upload and we publish our videos when they're available. My life doesn't allow me to just why do you need to see it the second it uploads? It doesn't really matter. Anyway, We've done plenty of office tours, by the way. I don't show my apartment back in Orville because it's disgusting. But check out Tailosive Talks if you want to see more of The Office. There's plenty of it. Red phone was near a scam. Yeah. Some people are saying lag, but I'm not getting any warnings on my end. Is anyone else having problems? Not everyone's having problems. Keep in mind it can be on your end too. It can be happening on your end. Thank you, Krista. People are saying no lag, no lag, no lag. Okay, so then it's on your end. Sorry if you're having lag. It's either YouTube's fault or your Wi-Fi's fault. A lot of people saying no problem. Okay. What's up with the thumbnail? We were talking about the Pixel 3 at the beginning of the live stream and how I think that if they nail these three things between same size bezel all the way around, dual camera and wireless charging, then they will earn my respect. It can be just you. Can you gather all of your wired headphones and cables and bird them? I would, but sadly, because of how stupid consoles work, that's how we use headphones on the Tailosive Gaming Twitch. When I want to use headphones to hear the gameplay, I have to use wired because I can't pair my AirPods to the console. I wish I could, but you can't. It's because consoles are lame, and yet they're the best at streaming content. Because Windows 10 has been a train wreck. Do you think I should upgrade from my MacBook Air? Could you please answer? I've been watching since the attic. Thanks, and have a great night. It heavily depends on what you need it to do. If your MacBook Air is doing fine, just keep it. But if it's not pulling its weight anymore, then yeah, consider switching. Just wait till after Worldwide Developers Conference. Don't buy a MacBook. Don't buy an iPad right now. It's a bad time. All right. You said in a video that Apple kept the Lightning port because they don't want all of the Lightning accessories to be incompatible. What about the headphone jack? The Lightning port is a multi-purpose device, a multi-purpose port. You can do audio through Lightning. You can charge through Lightning. You can do accessories through Lightning. A headphone jack's one thing, headphones. And they believe that you can replace that with wireless. They want to encourage everyone to go with wireless. They can't convince everyone right now to switch to just wireless charging. They're not ready for that yet, or wireless all accessories or wireless all. The Lightning headphones, I think, were a compromise so that they could keep including headphones with the purchase. But yeah, the headphone jack, they thought it was time to go. And I think it was too. I prefer using AirPods and wireless headphones anyway. I cannot go back to using wired headphones on my phone. I can't stand it. I don't think they switched to USB-C because they knew that switching away from the headphone jack was going to be a controversial thing. Everyone was going to hate that. And if they switched away from the headphone jack and Lightning in the same time, now none of your old chargers work and none of your old headphones work, I think it would have been too much at once. So they did just a little bit. Just remove the headphone jack. That's already controversial enough. Let's keep our Lightning charger because it's reversible. It's fast charging. It's good enough. USB-C it would make sense to a lot of the pro users who have MacBook Pros, but to a lot of people who don't have laptops or anything like that, it would confuse a lot of the market. And I believe USB-C is also slightly thicker, so it might mess with manufacturing. Do you think USB-C will be the final port, or will wireless truly be the last port? Well, wireless isn't ports, but thank you, Caleb. USB-C will be the last port, I think, period, on computers and stuff like that. I'm not sure about iPhones. I really don't. I'd be surprised if they switched to USB-C on iPhones. But Apple wants the new standard to be Qi charging, and a lot of the Android market obviously doesn't see that happening. But Qi charging is not a port. USB-C is a port. So I think in the inevitable future, all computers are just going to have USB-C, and you'll just plug into that for every device you can think of until we can completely abandon ports entirely, which will probably happen in our lifetimes. I do recommend getting a wireless charger. They're great. I have never plugged anything into my iPhone 8 a single time. Mac Mini or iMac Pro? That's an iMac Pro. I'd prefer that. How good is the iPhone 10 battery life? Thinking about upgrading, but I want a good battery life. For me, it was fine. I'm not using the 10 anymore. I'm letting my editor/friend Xander borrow the iPhone 10, and it wasn't. Battery life on any phone I've tested has never been bad enough or good enough to make or break the phone. Like, I've never been like, this phone's okay, but the battery life's great, so it's good. I've never justified that, or like this phone is really, really great, but the battery life is so bad I can't recommend it. Battery lives on all the phones I've tested have been fine. I can't say it's not worth it because the battery's not that great. So the iPhone 10 was also fine. I'm sure it could be better, but when could battery not be better? Now your battery lasts a whole day, could be 2 days. Now your battery lasts 2 days, could be a week. Now your battery lasts all week, could be a month. Like there's no point in which batteries can't be better. There's no denying that. You know, I've been really thinking about people who say they want to do a giveaway for 100K. And while I know a lot of you want free stuff, I want you to come to Tailosive Tech, and I want you guys to watch my content because you're interested in my feedback, you're interested in my opinions, or you're interested in my journalism on technology. I don't really want a giant audience of people that are going to the tech channel because they're hoping to get something for free. Like I talked to a couple people about this because a lot of people were thinking like, what do we do for 100K? Do we have something special? Do we do something interesting? I want people to come to Tailosive Tech because they genuinely are interested in what I have to say. That's what I'm going for when I want 100,000 subscribers. I'm looking for 100,000 people that want to hear what I have to say. And I think once we start slipping into giveaways, and we start giving away to handouts, and subscribe to my channel, make sure you hit the bell, make sure you are following me on Twitter and Instagram to be eligible for this giveaway. I think once we start doing that, we have a much larger audience, or we have a much larger subscriber count that's just worried about when do I get something free again? And I really don't want a bunch of people that just want free stuff. I want free stuff too. I don't blame you, but I just mean I don't want that to be the driving reason you're subscribed. Okay, so I hope you guys can understand that. So we're not, in regards to the 100K special, it'll most likely be a thank you video, and it'll likely be a bit retro, and we'll look back at some of the old tech videos in that video. But I don't want anyone thinking that when we get to 100K, someone's gonna win an iPhone 10 or something. All right, so yeah, I don't want everyone to just be like, oh, I subscribed to Tailosive Tech, he got me a free this, he got me a free that. I'll do it on Patreon because you are supporting me directly, so I feel a bit more grateful to those group of people. And Yi Hirasawa, you almost have a good point of why do we celebrate 100K? It is kind of a cool milestone that we got another digit to the subscriber thing, but at the same time, not really anything changes. It's not like I suddenly make a bunch more money, or I suddenly am a bigger channel now. Like every time someone subscribes, we're a bigger channel. So it's not, I don't want people thinking that the 100,000 is something super significant. This changes everything. It really doesn't. Everything kind of just goes back to normal. I may get a check mark next to my name now. I may get a silver play button. But does that make me a better YouTuber? Does that make me more successful? Not really. It's just like, okay, there's a button. Ooh. So yeah, that's why I'm not going for the giveaway route, and I hope you guys can understand that. All right, how about it'd be really funny if we celebrated a random significant. Guys, we made it to 96,000 subs. We finally made it. Oh, it's happened. And then 100K happens, and I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. But we made 96,000 subs. Oh my God, it's a big day. Will Thunderbolt 3 eventually be able to replace old school 3-prong power plugs? Oh God, no. That's called a 110 outlet that can deliver way more power than a Thunderbolt 3 port. Those, I don't know when we're going to switch away from those. We've been using those for decades, probably near a century, but like 110 outlets are so normal. Like that, those are so standard. Like whoever's going to try to switch us away from those is going to have a heck of a hard time. I guess it's a good thing Apple's not a monopoly. They'd probably try to convince us to stop using 110 outlets. Windows sucks. I lost all my data on computer because forced update. We lost a lot with our Windows PCs, and I'm not buying one again. I've given up on trying to think that Windows can survive. That I can get a PC and have it work reliably. I've done it so many times now, and it just never works. So I understand that for a lot of people out there, your Windows 10 PC does exactly what you need it to, and it works great, and you're fine. I can't justify it again. I've spent too much money and lost too much time working on PCs and having them update and having them take forever, and I can't do it anymore. Let's see. Always losing data, no idea where it goes. My question is, Windows 10 gets updates like every other day. They're like, time to update, time to update. You got to install your updates. What is changing? I don't see anything in the UI changing. And they're like, security patches. But then what happens is your drivers get corrupted, and then a bunch of your accessories don't work, or you lose all your files. And I'm like, what are you changing? What security update? This is a new virus being invented every second, and we have to assume every user is going to this deep web website that's going to get you this virus. Ugh. It literally was like, all right, we need to turn on my friend Wyatt's PC so that we can try to set up this device we got. And so we turn on the PC, and it literally takes an hour to update. I'm not exaggerating. 60 minutes to turn on. We have an iMac in there in the gaming room that's older than that PC, and it doesn't ever have that problem. It has updates. It's still getting High Sierra updates, but it's never like, I'm going to start installing them the moment the computer turns on. I'm done. I'm done with Windows 10. I really am. I'm just sick of it. I can't stand it anymore. I can't take it. Sometimes my computer turns on by itself. That's kind of interesting. Thanks, Windows. Did your resolution randomly change? Because mine does. It's awkward. I had to restart it, and it happens almost every day. Yes, that is something that will happen. And people will just be like, you need an SSD. Oh, you need to reinstall. Oh, you need to do that. And it's like, oh, the fix to the problem is very simple. It's just spend hours more time and money on it. That's not okay. Apple Juice says, most looking forward to on WWDC. I'm excited to see if there's any update in the design of the iMacs, because we'll be getting one, but also the iPad Pro is going to be a significant change. So I'm looking forward to that. So I would say iPad Pro is on top of my list. I'm really hoping for an SE, but I'm not like, that's the biggest thing I'm looking forward to. So how do you come up with ideas for videos? Sometimes I don't. Literally, I won't have anything, and that's why I won't make them earlier in the day, and that's probably why they don't get uploaded when everyone's awake, is because most of my good ideas come in the middle of the night, and that's when I make them and upload them. So I will let you guys know, though, there's very little time when the video has been uploaded and it's not published. I don't like choose for them to go live in the morning. They go live when I'm done, I'm done with them. You would probably buy both iPad Pros if they refreshed both sizes. Why? That's cool, but like, why? Why the 8 Plus? Okay, well, first of all, I like the size. The 8 Plus, I prefer the width of an 8 Plus, and I prefer this form factor. I'm not saying it's better than the 10, but I'm letting my friend / editor Xander try out the iPhone 10 so he can see if he likes it or if he wants the larger 10 Plus when that comes out. And I don't mind using the 8. It's still a good phone. Like, it's not garbage, and I like testing out different phones. I like the product red color. Every time I go back to an iPhone 10, I'm kind of like, oh my God, this is so much better. But it's kind of like, if you take away something you get really, really used to and then go back, you really quickly are like, oh my God, this is so much more noticeable. So like every time I switch back to an iPhone 10, it's like using it for the first time. So again, I prefer Face ID, I prefer gestures, but I definitely, wait, I'll be getting both iPad Pros? Why is Nick telling me this? Why will I be getting both? I'm getting one. I'm getting the large one. But yeah, I prefer gestures. I prefer Face ID, but I don't mind going back to the 8 Plus for the size and for letting iPhone 10. Nathan is not the editor anymore. You're extremely out of touch if you don't know that. Go to Tailosive Talks and watch the Hello Worlds called Moving On with Tailosive, stuff like that. But yeah, Nathan, if for those of you who don't know, had other job opportunities opening up, and working up in Chico wasn't exactly the environment he was enjoying. So he had other opportunities that were better for him, better suited for him and the type of skills he has. So he's no longer working at Tailosive. He's a good friend of ours, though. We didn't end things on a bad note. And now Xander's editing a lot of the content. So, yeah, that's in case you didn't know that. Isn't the Samsung ad named Moving On? Yes, but the Hello World came out first. So Samsung copied me, and I copied Lost. So, I think all YouTubers are biased, absolutely. And I think the only difference with me is I'm very upfront about it. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just going to go straight up and say, know that I'm biased towards Apple going into this. And I think more YouTubers should do that. And if they would, they'd be like, I don't like Apple. I just don't. And I'm biased against them. And I'd be like, okay, at least you're honest. Just don't pretend to be objective when you're clearly not being objective. Like, I'm just stating the facts. Having no headphone jack sucks. And I hate that. It's like, there's reasons. There's reasons behind it. That's all opinion. That's personal preference. This Note 8 sucks, but great for YouTube. I heard a lot of problems going down with the Note 8. I was reading articles. It was funny because Samsung was like, we don't down throttle our phones when the batteries get old. We just let the CPU run as fast as we want. And then there were a bunch of news articles saying that the Note 8 was shutting down unexpectedly. I wonder why Apple does that. Maybe it's because people use iPhones more than 4 years and the Note 8 just dies after 2. So updates, no need. Isn't the SE? We now have technically the SE2 because of the SE Mac. No, that's not. No, it isn't. Need you to console me. I'm a mobile cell phone repair tech, so I need my phone to not die. But I had a good few months of being wireless. I would recommend just like wireless Qi chargers. Battery bank Qi chargers are nice. Like I used that on a trip. I went on a fairly long trip a while back, and we were using the phone constantly, so obviously it needed to be charged. And we just have this little Qi charger that's a mobile battery bank, and when I needed to charge, I just rested on there, which is actually a lot nicer than a ordinary battery bank because you need to find a cable for it. Just a battery bank isn't enough. You need the bank, and then you need the lightning cable, plug it in, then you have this wire going around. Whereas the Qi-supported one, you just have this brick. You rest your phone on it, now it's charging. It's great. It works in the car, worked at the beach. That's how I have gotten away with still never plugging anything into my iPhone. There are issues with updating apps. Can only update one app at a time. With anyone else, welcome to Android. Lack of optimization because there's way too many of them. I still use Over. Yes, all of the video thumbnails are made with Over. That hasn't changed. What computer do you prefer for gaming? So with the gaming setups, for a while we live streamed with the iMac Pro over on Twitch. If you haven't, by the way, please subscribe with Twitch Prime over on Twitch because it means a lot to us, and we're being a lot more consistent Twitch streamers now, almost every day. And if you feel like your comment's not getting answered here, go over to Twitch. I'm not ignoring you, by the way. There's just 235 people asking questions at the same time. I can't answer all of you, so don't feel like I'm ignoring anyone in particular. But go to Twitch. It's a lot smaller of a community. Tailosive Gaming is there, and we even talk about tech stuff on there sometimes. But we live streamed on the iMac Pro for a while, but the Fortnite Mac app just isn't supported because we can turn everything up to high on Epic at 1440p and get 120 FPS, but then suddenly it'll be 3. And then you can even turn game settings down and frame rates will be lower. Frame rates will actually get better when we turn up settings, which means that it's not the GPU that's the problem. It's just they barely support the Mac app. It's very glitchy. And then we tried to do it on Windows 10, and every time we plug in our webcam, it crashes. So we can't do it on there. Plus, Windows 10 is slow as heck. And if I wanted to live stream on Windows 10, I would have to wait an hour every time. I don't have that kind of time. So then we streamed with the Xbox One S with the Elgato. We plugged the Elgato into our Xbox, then stream with my 2012 iMac, which still works great. The webcam works on it, which is great. Live streaming our content to Twitch. Soon we'll be getting the 5K iMac that comes out after WWDC. Then we can stream with that. We'll be able to stream 1080 at 60. But for a while I did Xbox One S, but I'm not as fond of the controller. So then I switched over just recently to streaming Fortnite with the PS4 Pro and keyboard and mouse, because you can just plug in a keyboard and mouse to a PlayStation and it'll work. And streaming with the iMac. But then, yeah, next month when we get the new iMac, we'll be able to stream 1080 at 60. Should be looking really good. So currently, my gaming setup is PlayStation 4 with keyboard and mouse and iMac for live streaming. I had forgotten my Qi power bank that day at home, and my Qi car charger quit working the day before, so I failed the portless challenge right when I needed to charge her for the screen repair. Dang it. That sucks. Have you ever been to WWDC? And if so, when next would you go? I've never been to one, and I have no interest in going because it's kind of like I can watch the whole thing and get a good angle of it online, and I react to it. I live stream my reactions to it. I get to watch it with you. I get to interact with the chat. We get to make jokes during the boring parts. There's always boring parts, and there's things like you guys, I think, enjoy getting to watch me watch it. Those live streams when we do the reactions always do really, really help. The channel, they do well. Lots of people watch, lots of people super chat. So I prefer live streaming my reaction opposed to going there and watch, because then I would have to just sit there, be quiet, watch, don't make any jokes, sit through the boring parts. I could be far away from the stage. I can't see anything that's going on. So I would much rather just watch online. I'm not one of those people that's like, I need to be there. I need to actually see it. I'm not that kind of person. Just helping the cause. Thank you, Alexander. What you think of external GPUs? I can't justify them, to be honest. For a long time, I was thinking about getting one for my old Mac, but the reason I ultimately decided they're just not worth it is because they cost so much money that you'd be better off just using that money for your next purchase, because just improving the GPU doesn't change the fact that your CPU is probably old too, and that's going to age poorly, and having everything external doesn't really fix all the problems, and it costs a lot. So like just the cartridge to plug in a GPU, not counting the GPU, just the cartridge for it is like $300, $400 just to plug in, just to plug in the GPU. And then you have to buy the GPU. And for it to be a good one, you're going to be spending $200, $300 on it. So at that point, you're spending $600 to $1,000 on an external GPU. And if you're plugging it into a machine where your GPU wasn't cutting it, I'm sure the CPU is probably going to be dated too. So I can't justify it. I can't make it work. So I'm just like, no, I think you're better off investing in the next computer, which will have a better GPU and a better CPU, than you are spending $1,000 on an accessory for your old Mac. Don't spend $1,000 on an accessory for an old laptop. That's just not worth it. Just spend $1,000 on the next Mac, and it'll be better. You can get a desktop or a gaming laptop for that price. Exactly. I can't justify the external GPUs because they just cost too much. I don't use the Nintendo Switch. I'm not a fan of Nintendo because the Switch is not really about the hardware. It's about the games. Most people, if you ask them if they could buy Breath of the Wild on Xbox, if they could buy it on PlayStation, if they could buy it on PC, they would have. They only bought the Switch because that's how you play the Nintendo games. So I think the Switch was Nintendo's best bet of saying, like, well, if we make it mobile, we can charge more than $200 for a console, which is what the Xbox can do because it's not mobile. But I mean, you also can have inferior hardware because the games can't run that high resolution. You're running 720p, occasionally 60, and then you have to dock it into something so that it can play 1080, whereas a 1S, you can stream 4K, you can play games at 1080 at 60. With a $200 console, I don't see a bunch of people taking their Switch everywhere. They say it's mobile, but how often do people use the mobile feature? It's really just Nintendo's easy way to charge extra for the console. Because if you could have bought Breath of the Wild for $60 on PC and Xbox, they would have. So it's not really, do you like the Switch? It's, do you like Breath of the Wild? And in my opinion, no, I'm not a Zelda fan. I didn't have that in my childhood. You had Mario, you had Super Mario, all that Nintendo jazz. If you had all that, the Switch is great. But if you didn't, then if you're just judging the Switch as hardware, I think it's junk. It's expensive for the Joy-Cons. The speakers aren't good. The display isn't good. The hardware can't perform high advanced gameplay. It can do okay graphically, but overall, I think Minecraft's coming to the Nintendo Switch. You can pair a controller to an iPad and probably get a better experience with Minecraft. So I'm not a fan of Nintendo Switch because I'm not a fan of the games. and that's all that really matters. They found a way that they can charge $300 for Breath of the Wild. That's all they really found. One of the hardest working YouTubers, very inspirational. Thank you, Techno, but I'm by no means the hardest working. I don't think I work that hard, but thank you. Most of your vids are shorter than 5 minutes. Oh, that's to someone else. The Switch should have a glass back. No, I've been asked about the Switch before. My friend Xander has one, and he's fine with it. He's like, yeah, it's fun. Breath of the Wild is okay. He likes it fine, but he doesn't use it very much. And I've asked him, I've said, like, Xander, if Breath of the Wild was $60 on Xbox, would you have gotten that? He's like, oh, yeah, absolutely. So the question is not, do you like the Switch? It's, do you want to play Breath of the Wild? And my answer is no, I don't care about Breath of the Wild. It looks dull to me. I'm not interested in Zelda. So, yeah, I'm not going to spend $300 on one game. I like Fortnite because it's free, and I'm not much of a gamer. And Fortnite can look okay on mobile and decent on high-end PCs and consoles. So I like games like that because everyone can play. It's creative enough. Top Twitch streamers play Fortnite, so I don't want to hear everyone go, oh, Fortnite, you play that. It's like, come on, everyone watches it. Get over it. I'm not a fan of Call of Duty. Remember to read my DM on Insta. Thank you, Most Average Gamer. I appreciate it. I will remember to do that. Thank you for the super chat. Do you think they'll get rid of iPhone side buttons? Not soon, Will, but we may get to a point where they do that. I could see Apple being like, no, it's 3D touch buttons now, and they don't actually click anymore. I don't know. I feel like that could happen. But yeah, Battlefield's cool for those asking. I like the Battlefield series. I've played several of the Battlefield games, but Call of Duty, I think, is just too many games. They all cost the same. Isn't Black Ops 4 going to cost $60 and not have a campaign now? Like this isn't a gaming stream. I'm sorry. This is tech. You should make a moved on Samsung reaction ad. Victor, I hope you were kidding. You better be kidding. Because we did, and everyone saw it. Hackintosh or new Mac Pro? Thoughts on not trash canned? Yeah, Hackintoshes are lame. I've tried them. I've made a Hackintosh. It wasn't fun because every time there's a software update, you have to find all your drivers over again. I made a Hackintosh, but even with the equipped drivers that we were supposed to have, we couldn't get it to do audio, internet, or graphics. So it was useless. I was like, this is too complicated. The point of gaming is tech, but we're not talking about consoles. We're talking about games that Call of Duty games are just, they're all the same. Point the gun at the bad guy and shoot him. War is hell. So creative. And I don't get people who are like, I'm going to spend $60 so I can buy another zombie game. Shooting zombies. What's wrong with the last game zombie mode? You're shooting zombies. Survive the horde. Well, this time it's Black Ops. Does it look better? Not really. Hackintoshes ain't hard. You should have seen the Hackintosh we built. My God. We took all the exact precautions. We did everything right, and we still couldn't get the drivers to work correctly. The idea of a Mac is that it just works, and the Hackintosh destroys that idea. The Hackintosh is like, you need to make it work. You need to fight the computer until it does what you're looking for. That's why I love Apple. Yes, the point of Mac OS is because it's optimized for the Mac, and it just works, and Hackintoshes do not just work. You don't just plug them in and turn them on, and they start working. You have to know exactly what you're doing. So anyway, we've come up on our hour here, so thank you, Will Hall, for being the final super chatter of the evening. We're very grateful for you. And if you feel like your comments not being answered, please, I'll say this again, please feel free to check out our Twitch page because we're going live on there just about every day, sometimes not every day, but fairly regularly. You can support us on there with Twitch Prime and bits without donating a thing. It costs you nothing. You can watch ads and earn bits and donate them. Twitch, if you have Amazon Prime, you can support us directly with Twitch Prime. We get money, you lose nothing. So please leave that link in the description if someone wants to check it out. Average Gamer is actually now the final super chatter of the evening. I'll be sure to check that out. I'm not going to read it on stream because it's urgent and I don't know exactly what it's about. But please feel free to check out our Twitch page for more live streamed content, but of course with more gameplay. How do I earn bits? You'll click on the bit icon and there will be an earn bits option. Zombies looks and plays better every time. How does it look? You look around the game, you get guns, you shoot them at the zombies. You're gonna pay $60 so that like the zombies run faster? What? They all look the same. Anyway, thank you, Sean Stark, for your super chat. I'm just saying that the $60 for another zombie game is ridiculous to me, considering you could buy 10 movies with that. You can buy a nice dinner with that you're going to enjoy, opposed to a 20-hour gameplay you're going to get out of that new zombie map. Thank you, Marion Law, for being the last super chatter. But if the zombie mode on Call of Duty was like a $10 DLC, I could get it, but it's not. It's like $60, and that's ridiculous. To buy a whole nother game, and it's like, what? Did you beat the last Zombie Horde game? Well, no, I only got to round 48, and it's like, okay, then keep going. There's more to the game there. Don't buy $60 so you can fail at another game mode. Ugh. Thank you, Marion Law. Thank you guys for all your super chats and your questions. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great night.